Hey everyone, today I'm diving deep into the most talked about poker event of the year, the 2025 World Series of Poker Main Event, and specifically I'm going to examine the victory of none other than Michael the Grinder Mizrachi. And with this, I'm going to give my theory on why I believe that the WSOP 2025 Main Event was rigged for Mizrachi to win. Now, rigged is a strong word, but when you look at the series of improbable events that lead to Mizrachi's monumental win and some other things that some people might just write off as just merely coincidence, you would end up asking yourself, was this simply the greatest run of luck in poker history, or were there other forces at play? So I'm going to get into this. I'm going to break down first off some evidence here, point by point. You can then decide for yourselves what you think on this. The first point is the getting there on the river. So there are a lot of river miracles there. If you watch this, in the main event, you couldn't escape it. Mizrachi, he was getting there on the river a lot. There's specifically that hand, with Ace King versus Kings. The Ace came on the river. So there was always a lot of that, drawing slim outs, needing that one specific card to hit on the very last street. And time again, he got it. Now, we all know poker involves luck. But then again, though, at a certain point, when you see a player consistently bailing themselves out on impossible spots to hit their mythical river card, I don't know. To me, it kind of stretches the bounds of what you consider normal variance. To me, it felt less like a fortunate run. I honestly feel felt like a more of a predetermined outcome. How many times can one person hit a one outer? But then before you start, there start to be there's some red flags there. Point two, at one point he only had two big blinds. Now look, it can be possible to come back. I think didn't Sam Greenwood win a tournament when he had 0.3 big blinds? Funnily enough, and it's a bit of a flex, 2 weeks ago I won a tournament when I had 1.5 big blinds and there was nine players remaining. So it is possible, but really, when you think about it, the main event, he was down to two big blinds and a field massive. So there was 9,735 players. He was practically out. But not, the Grinder, as his nickname, as he's well known as. He didn't just survive, he mounted an epic comeback, spinning those two blinds, stack, and he was able to get there on the final table and really much had the momentum at one point. When it got down to last Wednesday, the final four, I said to myself, Mizrachi's winning it. There's no way he's just going to win. I felt it. And there's a few reasons that I felt it was coming, and I'm going to get into them. Now, here's a very important point I feel here. Probably now, going back, this is now, going back to probably since 2002 time, he's the most well-known pro to win. Now, you had, Moneymaker, but when Moneymaker won in 2003, he was an unknown. But can you think of anyone else after Moneymaker, around that time, can you think of anyone else in the past 23 something years who was a well-known pro when they won the WSOP Main Event? Now, they might have had a bit of a name on their scene in their local, where they're from, the city, their town, but they weren't a well-known professional poker player. It wasn't like Negranu won or Phil Ivey won. Phil Ivey had quite a deep run at one point. Got to, I think, was it the final table in 2008, 2009. But he is the most well-known guy to win the WSOP Mizrachi. He came close at one point. I believe it was the year that Duhamel won. He's been around. He's going back. It was like 20 years ago. He was a name. Was Mizrachi. It's very much, the winners of the years, there could just be guys who are amateurs, or guys that just work a regular job, and then there's just guys coming up on the scene, looking to make a name for themselves as professionals. But he is arguably the most prominent and popular professional player to win the main event in 22 years. So, is that a coincidence? Someone who's got a fair bit of widespread appeal, got a name, quite popular. This, fairly compelling narrative there, you would say that he's the one, I don't know, kind of like a hero's journey, let's say. Now, point number 4, the immediate Poker Hall of Fame induction. This was the one here. So he was immediately inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame, something that's never happened before. Right away, they make the announcement, you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame after winning, the World Series of Poker. And I believe it was in 2021, he was there was the list of candidates, and the guys, the council were picked to select. He wasn't selected back in, like 4 years ago. But that is quite unprecedented, immediate induction into the Poker Hall of Fame. This history-shattering achievement, winning the main event, the Poker Players Championship, it's incredible. But does that warrant, bypassing all these, quite established protocols? And so it was apparently 32 or 33 inductees, and I'm going to get into that whole thing, other points here that get a bit deeper. But that to me is a little bit of a red flag. So all of a sudden, oh, by the way, now you're going to get put into the Poker Hall of Fame. That's something to me that never happened before. So that to me does raise a little bit of a red flag there. Now, yes, so poker is a game of skill, but it's also a game of immense luck. I just have my doubts about this, and I'm going to get into this more. And when you see these things here, and I get into this and certain things, it's going to be an eye opener. This one, you might just write this off as just some, conspiracy theory bullshit. But when I get into this stuff here, you might feel that there's a bit more to this than certainly meets the eye with Mizrachi winning. So I'm going to get into some stuff here, and this is some more, you could say, somewhat evidence proof that I feel, there's too many coincidences here with this win with Mizrachi. This stuff with Mizrachi, where there were some red flags that I noticed. With myself, I'm kind of a guy that's into a lot of kind of conspiracy theories, but more kind of a deeper level than your standard kind of like David Icke, Alex Jones stuff when you get into it. And I'm getting into a lot of psyops in the past, let's say around two or 3 years. With the elite, with the controllers, there's a lot of things that they want to do. They want to have things encoded. They want they're going to word things, and there could be a lot of numbers they're going to put out there. There's a lot of things that they will do and it's really to let people who are really in on the know that don't take this news seriously. This is a hoax. They're very clever with the stuff that they do with the elite. You can say this is a lot of stuff. When you get into Freemasonry, they get in very much. You're talking about things that's all encoded. There's stuff to do with gematria. It's a lot of times when you see numbers that it could be with posts with politicians and everything. A lot of things are numbers out there. That can be a bit of a red flag. But one thing, sometimes it's a lot of names that are red flags too. And a big one is when there's a lot of people out there in the world, like the celebrity world, and they have the first letters in their first name and last name are the same. Now you have this with Michael Mizrachi, obviously, so they're both MM. You have this. It's quite common with a lot of celebrities now these days. I mean, you've got your Sam Smiths, SS. You've got Sydney Sweeney, I believe. There's a few people. Ryan Reynolds. It's quite common in the celebrity world. Vince Vaughn. That sometimes they've got that, and there's a very good chance that that's not even their real names. In some cases, it can be. I mean, you've got a big one right now, Luke Littler, who's now the biggest star in darts. So that can be very common. You've got that, then you've got MM, and MM is a very common one, and it's believed to be associated with Master Mason. And with this is a big one, so they love this MM1 with the controllers. It's inverting it, and this is all about representing the number 33. So you get so that also as well. You've got 4-4, so he's 44. So he's won the World Series at 44 years of age, and Mizrachi had said, funnily enough, coincidentally, it was only a coincidence now, that 44s was his favorite hand. And I believe it was a 4 clubs that was on the turn that he made his flush in the winning hand versus the opponent. He had 2 pair. He had ace 9. Ace 9 off. So you've got that. You've got MM. You've got 4-4. And then with this post here by Phil Hellmuth, Mizrachi goes straight into the Poker Hall of Fame. No wait, no fuss, no muss, as all 33 Hall of Famers agreed unanimously. Now, again, that master number. Now, a lot of people, they might know the significance of the number 33. They might not. That is like, a master number, an angel number. And when it comes to like Freemasonry and, with the elite, they love that number 33. You'll see that a lot in a lot of, news articles with things to do, like could be 33 million, 33 billion, 33 is a very common number. That's one to look out for. And then it's just so much. It's just this big freakish coincidence, right? MM 44 33 33 Hall of Famers, 33 the master number, and they agreed that Mizrachi would go right into the Hall of Fame, the Poker Hall of Fame, after winning the main event, something that's never been happened before. So there's that. There's a big red flag there. Also, you had Will Kassouf. Will Kassouf, he's another character, right? Well, he is a bit of he's a real piece of work. Not a guy I like. Not a fan of him. There was Kassouf. Now, all this coverage the past week, or with the main event, for days it was all centered around Kassouf and his controversial antics and all his speech play and getting on the case, getting on the nerves of everyone there, right? That's what most of the coverage was centered around, and that was getting big views on with Poker Go, and with the Poker Go the YouTube channel. Kassouf, though, where does he get knocked out? What place does he get knocked out in the World Series of Poker main event? 33rd. Again, is that just a coincidence? I think not. And with this post here, and you go into the photo here, when he's he's arguing and pleading his case as they were looking to just get rid of him, he was just being a total nuisance and just chatting a load of shit after he got knocked out in that hand, berating the players. He's now pleading his case, and if you look at the hand signs there, it looks very much to me like he's doing the 666 hand signal. Both hands there as he's having this argument there, with I believe is I don't know if that's Ethel, the tournament director, but high up, guy, the WSOP. He's putting his case to, and he's doing the 666 hand signal. Again, is that just a coincidence that he's doing this while he's having this argument? I don't think so. So there's that one as well. And now with Mizrachi, and I don't know what it was with Mizrachi. Everyone was talking about how a great guy he was. I didn't really take to him. I didn't. Something about just his attitude was just a little bit off to me overall. Whether with this whole thing he's in on it or not, I believe there's a good chance. If it's rigged, he probably is on it. But with Mizrachi, this is very common with the kind of the crossed arms. Now he was doing this a lot. He's doing this a lot. He was doing this throughout the tournament. He was sat down, and now he's doing this pictured with the big win there for $10 million. He was photographed doing that with the arms crossed. Now that is a very common thing. That is the Osiris risen hand signal. That's very common with the elite, with the occult, the Illuminati, and this is something you see many public figures photograph doing. So you've got him there, arms crossed. And if you go back and look at the footage, you can see that there, him doing that constantly. You see footballers doing this a lot, specifically Cole Palmer. That's his goal celebration. There's some bullshit story that it's because when he was cold and he was known as Cold growing up, and because he was being chilly or whatever. Some bullshit story behind it. But you see all these public figures doing this so many times. You saw Mizrachi doing it, and look at the proof here. You've got all these people doing it, right? And it's not just a case of the photographer telling them what to do. This is many people, many celebrities doing this. Lionel Richie, and this is just like he's doing this at a red carpet event. It's not like the photographer told him to do it. David Bowie, Muhammad Ali, Carrie Fisher, Erykah Badu, Donna Summer, Carrie Fisher. The occultist, the big one here, Aleister Crowley. He might be Mr. Satan himself. And was Crowley just doing it because the photographer told him to do it? I don't think so. So you had Mizrachi doing that, and then you've got all these guys doing it here. So there's a bit of a pattern here, don't you think? But yeah, I mean, and this and the other reasons I gave you is this is why I very much believe that the WSOP was rigged. I think it was rigged for Mizrachi to win it. I'm just going to say that out now. I've got the evidence here, the other reasons I gave, just in terms of variance, very highly unlikely where he was at, the medical cards he was getting there, with the river, just a lot of things there. And it just does seem a little bit like, the immediate Hall of Fame induction, that's questionable as well. And yeah, and there was an article here, guys were going through that. He was not like a conspiracy theory thing questioning him that it was rigged, but there was, talk, how all of a sudden he made the, Hall of Fame, the Poker Hall of Fame. He had here that was a list of 32, but then Helmuth said it was 33, so I don't know exactly what that number is. Is he right or is Helmuth right? But the council decided it was a list of 10 finalists. But, this year he wasn't among the 10 finalists, and they just skip past that and say, oh no, but we'll put you in the Hall of Fame. And then with Helmuth, it was 33 and people agreed to it. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions there with the Hall of Fame. And would it be a big surprise that poker gets rigged at this level? Probably not. You'd like to think the professional game, that doesn't happen. It's probably it's more likely not happening at your local casino, but with these when big events, big money, there can be these home games that the Hollywood guys go to. There's talks that those games were rigged. You're thinking back to movie Molly's game, but it wouldn't unfortunately wouldn't surprise me that this high level that the poker game can be rigged. And this is why for the reasons I've gone through, I feel, and it'll be maybe a bit of a controversial opinion putting this out there, that the World Series of Poker 2025 main event was rigged for Mizrachi to win. And that's my video on that, guys. But feel free to hit the like, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, give me your take. Please, let's have some civil discourse here. Let me know what your thoughts were on this evidence here. Give me your take, break it down. Let me know what you think on this, all this information I presented. And what do you think? Do you think it was a bit of a coincidence that it just happened to be him with everything? Do you think that it is possible then? Is it rigged? Was it not? Was it he just happened to win it? He was the best player throughout the whole tournament. Please leave a comment and give me your take on what your thoughts are on this with Mizrachi and the 2025 Hall of Fame not say Hall of Fame, the WSOP 2025 main event.